Good Friday morning, and thanks for joining us from the Ohio AgNet, the voice you know with the news you trust studio, sponsored by BASF and Veltima Fungicide, proven #1 for the toughest corn diseases with long-lasting residual when you need to be confident your fungicide will perform. I'm Dusty Sonnenberg reporting. Under cloudy skies this morning, 43 degrees on the barn thermometer. Be sure to tune in to Midday today as powered by Soy Biodiesel. The Ohio Field Leader Roadshow is headed to Seneca County. I'll be visiting with Brett Margriff of Margriff Farms. The Ohio Field Leader is a project of the Ohio Soybean Council and your soybean checkoff. Taking a look at what's making agricultural news at ohioagnet.com. We all know in agriculture, as in life, many people like to imagine what the future will look like. Then there are those who are intentional about proactively shaping their future. Eric and Adele Flynn of Gordon Farms and Flynn Livestock in Lorain County are just those people that are intentionally involved in organizations shaping the future of agriculture that's going to impact both their farm and their family. You can learn more about the Flynns in an article I put together with the visit on the Ohio Field Leader Roadshow, which is a project of the Ohio Soybean Council and your soybean checkoff. Now, in other ag news, a recent pseudorabies detection in an Iowa commercial hog facility has renewed discussions around swine biosecurity and disease surveillance. Joel Panorwood caught up with the Ohio State University veterinarian Andrew Bowman and explains the history of pseudorabies in the United States swine industry, why the recent case is not considered a human health concern, and how long-standing surveillance and biosecurity systems are working to quickly identify and contain the risk. Bowman also discusses the role of feral swine populations and how that plays into disease management and why continued vigilance remains important for Ohio producers. You can watch the entire video interview today online at ohioagnet.com. Well, we all know that fuel and input costs continue to rise in agriculture. Our own Joe Everett takes a look now at some of the potential fallout.
Farmers are continuing to feel the squeeze from higher fuel and input costs here during the heart of the planting season. Analysts say rising diesel prices, along with more expensive fertilizer, are adding even more pressure to already tight farm margins. Energy prices have continued to move higher in the recent weeks because of the ongoing global trade tensions and concerns surrounding tariffs and shipping routes overseas. At the same time, higher natural gas prices are driving up the cost of producing fertilizer, especially nitrogen products heavily used in corn production. Economists say many grain producers have already been dealing with lower corn and soybean prices, making it even harder to absorb those added expenses. Higher diesel costs are already impacting nearly every part of the operation, from field work to hauling grain. The American Farm Bureau Federation says elevated input costs continue to challenge profitability for many farms, even as planting conditions improve across the Midwest. Analysts add some farmers may look at cutting fertilizer rates or holding off on equipment purchases if these higher costs stick through the growing season. For the Ohio AgNet, I'm Joe Everett reporting.
Thanks, Joe. Let's get a check now of our Friday morning and through the weekend weather forecast. This weather update brought to us by Seed Consultants. Simply better performance. You can learn more online at seedconsultants.com.
We've got some moisture trying to pop up over Ohio here later today and especially into the weekend. I'm Chief Meteorologist Ryan Martin with that Ohio Ag Weather Update. This afternoon, anything that pops up is going to be in southwest Ohio. We're talking about a few limited scattered showers or rumbles of thunder. Moving into tomorrow, this is where we have a significant coverage increase over the state. Showers and maybe a few rumbles of thunder with about 70% coverage. And then Sunday, we see lingering action, especially morning, in central and southern parts of the state. Big time frontal boundary action comes through early next week, Monday, Tuesday into early Wednesday. I think we need to pencil in anywhere from a quarter to 1 inch at least, coverage at 90% of the state. Thursday forward is interesting. It looks like a strong area of high pressure wants to come in and dry things down. Thursday may get some moisture trapped underneath that, but then we are drying down for the end of the week through the Memorial Day weekend and a large part of the following week. That could be our best back-to-back-to-back dry window in a while. I'm Ryan Martin.
Thanks, Ryan. Well, taking a look at other agricultural news, America's rural population decline seems to be reversing in some places. Now, following nearly a decade of population decline starting back in 2010, rural America saw the trend reverse around 2016 to 2017. According to a 2019 USDA Economic Research Service study, that reversal has continued, with non-metropolitan populations increasing by 0.29% between 2023 and 2024, though growth does remain slower than the metropolitan areas at 1.1%. However, a fundamental demographic shift has occurred. Since 2017, rural areas recorded more deaths than births, with natural decrease now widespread across 76% of non-metro counties. Between 2020 and 2024, this natural decrease reduced the non-metro population by 563,550 people. Now, recent rural population growth has been entirely driven by migration. Between 2020 and 2024, migration added 974,379 people to the non-metro population, 69% from the domestic migration, 31% from international migration, according to the USDA. Now, the COVID-19 pandemic significantly accelerated that trend, with rural net migration rates jumping from near zero in 2017 to 2020 to 0.47% in 2020 and 2021. That's partially because of the increased ability to work remotely. Stay tuned. We'll be back with more when the Ohio AgNet continues after this.
Wake up, Ohio farmers. Ohio's Country Journal is bringing the coffee to you. We're stopping by rural coffee shops, diners, and your favorite morning gathering spots across the state. And while we're there, the first 25 folks through the door get a free cup of coffee, a limited edition Ohio's Country Journal mug, and the latest issue of OCJ, all on us. Want us to visit your hometown hangout? Head to ocj.com/coffee shop and sign up your local spot today. Brought to you by Leist Mercantile and Ohio's Country Journal, your source for Ohio farm news.
Hi, I'm Tyler Miller, a soybean farmer from Crawford County. When I grow soybeans, I'm not just raising a crop, I'm creating fuel at home. Biodiesel adds nearly $2 to our bushel price and strengthens our energy independence. If you're not using biodiesel on your farm, now's the time. If you're not sure how to get it, ask your local fuel supplier. Ready to turn last year's crop into this year's fuel? Learn more at soyohio.org.
This message is brought to you by Ohio soybean farmers and their checkoff.
Let's check in now with Joel Panorwood as he gives us an update on pseudorabies news here in the United States.
Joel Panorwood here for the Ohio AgNet. Joining us today on our program, Dr. Andrew Bowman. He's professor in Department of Veterinary Preventive Medicine at The Ohio State University, and talking with us today about a topic that's come about recently that may be a surprise of a topic to some, one that we want to learn more about, and that's pseudorabies in pigs. And Dr. Bowman, thank you so much for being here with us today. First of all, a little bit of background there. Pseudorabies recently discovered in an Iowa commercial hog facility, and it's one, though, that is not a new thing to the United States, but I'll let Dr. Bowman take it from there. Tell us a little bit more about pseudorabies and what is it that folks should know about it?
Yeah, so pseudorabies, obviously not new, although we've lived for about 2 decades without having to really think about it, right? So this is maybe one of the success stories of veterinary medicine and U.S. agriculture. It's a herpes virus, was present in the U.S. swine herd, and through an active elimination program, we drove it out of the commercial herd, and we haven't had it since 2004. And so that's been a great win for the U.S. swine industry. And unfortunately, the virus has persisted in feral pigs. And so, the feral swine population, we don't have control over like we did commercial pigs. And so the virus has continued to persist there. And so this spillover that was detected in Iowa, and I'm saying it's a spillover, there was a link to feral swine in Texas. And so it looks like we had movement of the virus from feral swine into these pigs that were then in Iowa. And so I think it's one of those things that we've always talked about in the last 20 years. We've said our biggest risk is the feral swine. We have an active surveillance program. We still require testing in some movement situations. And this is how we found it. So, as we've said, that was the risk. That still is the risk. Maybe those of us that maybe weren't in the swine industry in the 90s, maybe we don't really remember that pseudorabies is a thing. And so it's real. It's still in the U.S. It's just not in the commercial swine herd, and we've done a darn good job of keeping it out. And here we see one spillover.
Mm-hmm. This spillover case, just one that it's in the news, and one that brings up us kind of refreshing our knowledge about something that thankfully has been some time since we've actively talked about it in the commercial swine sense of things. This specific, how does it elicit itself? Is it something that has any impact on human health? Start there, and then we can also talk about, hey, this is a good reminder of biosecurity, what future risks are, and we can get into that part of the conversation.
Yeah, so as we think about it, I guess we'll start with the zoonotic piece, right? It's really not a threat to humans. It's we could dig through the literature and maybe find a person here or there that potentially has been infected with it, but for the most part, it's a pig pathogen, and we've always treated it as such. The only thing that you would consider if you're worried on the human side is good pork safe handling practices would inactivate the virus. So really no concerns there. It's the fact that, right, it's this pig disease. And so it presents differently depending on the age. We get neurologic disease in the young pigs, respiratory disease in older pigs, runs the gamut. And as I mentioned, right, the problem of it being a herpes virus is herpes viruses are friends for life. So once an animal's infected, it's going to be there forever and has that potential to always cause problems. Right, things that we were more than happy to get rid of. And we managed to get rid of it. We did that through active testing, a vaccine program. So there is a vaccine. Today, we don't actively vaccinate for it because we don't think we should have that risk. Most of the biosecurity practices we deal with today were kind of founded in the pseudorabies elimination program that originated back in the 90s and early 2000s.
That's Dr. Andrew Bowman. He's a professor in the Department of Veterinary Preventive Medicine at The Ohio State University, giving us an update on the recent pseudorabies find in a commercial hog facility in Iowa, what it means for producers in Ohio. You can find the full interview online at ohioagnet.com. I'm Joel Penortwood reporting.
Thanks, Joel. Stay tuned. We'll back to take a look at your markets after this. Those long days in a tractor cab can really put a cramp in your body. So while refueling or refilling your equipment, walk around the tractor a few times or do a few head-to-toe stretching exercises. When fatigue does set in, that's when injuries and mistakes happen. Know when it's time to take a break and recharge. Let's make sure everyone gets home safe and sound. This message from the Ohio AgNet, OSU Extension, Ag Safety and Health Team, and this station.
Looking for heavy equipment but don't know where to buy? Purple Wave Auction has you covered. Always online and always no reserve. It's your destination for construction or ag equipment ready to work. We even sell semis, trailers, and fleet equipment for your operation. Best part? It's free to join. Head to purplewave.com. That's purplewave.com. Sign up for a free account and start bidding today. Purple Wave Auction, the easiest and most straightforward way to buy and sell equipment.
Let's take a look at what's impacting the grain markets. Today's market analysis is brought to you by the Louis Dreyfus Company. Excited to bring a brand new soybean crush facility to Upper Sandusky, Ohio. Learn more about marketing your soybeans with LDC at 574-566-2113.
Grain markets went sharply lower on Thursday. The Trump-Xi meetings were underway, and the basic thought process that came out of those meetings was, well, beans are done. China's not buying any more beans. As well they shouldn't. They already gave commitments to 25 million metric tons the next couple of years, and I can't for the life of me figure out why the market was bulled up that there was going to be more. But it was, and yesterday put the kibosh on that. The meetings on other things went fairly well, I guess. But agriculture has to come to grips with the reality that the bean book is done. Corn moved down because of beans. The wheat market consolidating off of the big gains that we saw early in the week after the supply and demand report reduced production. Wheat Quality Council tour data, not great right now. I'm Ryan Martin.
Thanks, Ryan. Let's take a look now at how the markets closed, brought to us by Seed Consultants. Simply better performance. You can learn more online at seedconsultants.com. Well, July corn closed down 13 1/4 cents, and December corn was down 11 3/4. July soybeans closed the day down 36 1/2 cents, while November soybeans were down 24 1/4. July Kansas City wheat closed down 19 1/2 cents, while July Chicago wheat was down 17 1/2, and July Minneapolis wheat closed the day down 17 1/4 cents. Turning now to the overnight trade, July corn is up 2 3/4 cents at $4.70 1/4 cents. December new crop corn up 2 1/4 at $4.93 1/2. July soybeans currently trading up 4 cents at $11.96 1/2 cents, with November new crop beans up 3 1/2 cents at $11.87, and wheat for July currently trading down 1/4 penny at $6.57 3/4 cents. Turning now to livestock at the close, June live cattle were down 72.5 cents at $252.07 and May lean hogs closed down 45 cents at $9.45. Thanks for joining us. This is the Ohio AgNet.